Fame is a ruthless predator, and the golden age of Hollywood was its ultimate hunting ground. We all remember the timeless magic of mid-century cinema, the glittering premieres, the perfect smiles, and the music that shaped our youth. But behind that dazzling silver screen lies a devastating truth. The studio machine didn't just create stars, it edited human beings. Today, we step behind the velvet curtain to expose the hidden truths of the brilliant Jewish and LGBTQ+ men who literally built American pop culture. They were the architects of our greatest dreams, yet forced to exist in darkness, burying their roots and authentic loves to survive an industry demanding absolute conformity. By the way, leave a comment if you love Hollywood history, and please subscribe to our channel. Stay with us until the very end because the agonizing price one legend paid for his secret will absolutely break your heart. 1. Tony Curtis. To the generation that came of age in the golden twilight of mid-century Hollywood, Tony Curtis was the ultimate pretty boy. A charismatic screen god with a killer smile. Yet beneath that dazzling veneer, the star was perpetually running from his true self, Bernard Schwartz. Born in 1925 to Hungarian Jewish immigrants in the Bronx, he arrived in Tinseltown during an era that demanded absolute conformity. To fit the ruthless studio mold, he changed his name, altered his nose, and buried his ethnic heritage to become the ultimate American heartthrob. His highly publicized marriages, 6 in total, most famously to Janet Leigh, which gave us Jamie Lee Curtis, provided the perfect heterosexual credentials for the gossip columns. Yet Tinseltown whispers about his bisexuality persisted for decades. While Curtis never fully confirmed nor denied these rumors, his later years were marked by vague hints of youthful sexual experimentation. Ironically, his defining masterpiece was a brilliant act of defiance. Starring alongside Jack Lemmon in the 1959 classic Some Like It Hot, Curtis donned drag with a fearless comedic grace. But this was no mere slapstick routine. It was a daring, direct mockery of the draconian Hays Code. His performance playfully winked at the very rigid gender norms he was forced to uphold in his public life. Like many who flew too close to the sun, Curtis battled severe cocaine addiction in the 1980s. Though his 2008 autobiography offered a glimpse of raw honesty regarding his regrets, he took his deepest secrets with him when he passed in 2010 at age 85. He remains a poignant symbol of Hollywood's classic era, a monument of sheer talent, breathtaking beauty, and carefully guarded mysteries. 2. Leonard Bernstein. To those who grew up in post-war America, Leonard Bernstein was far more than a conductor. He was the charismatic heartbeat of a national cultural awakening. Born Louis Bernstein in 1918 to Ukrainian Jewish immigrants, he shattered the European monopoly on classical music to become the first American to lead the New York Philharmonic. Through his legendary Young People's Concerts, he invited millions into his living room, teaching a generation how to truly listen. From the gritty rhythmic streets of West Side Story in 1957 to his deeply faithful Jewish liturgical works, Lenny's genius defined the American soundscape. Yet the man who gave so much of his soul to the public lived a life deeply fractured by the closet. In an era that demanded absolute conformity, his bisexuality was classical music's worst-kept secret. But the pressure didn't just come from conservative audiences. Behind the scenes, J. Edgar Hoover's FBI weaponized his identity, compiling a massive, suffocating surveillance file on the maestro. During the height of the Lavender Scare, the constant threat of federal exposure hung over his career like a hidden guillotine. His marriage to the elegant actress Felicia Montilgre provided a loving sanctuary. Yet both harbored private complicated truths. The agonizing friction between his authentic desires and his public image ultimately culminated in 1976 when he left Felicia for music director Tom Kthine. But when tragedy struck and Felicia was diagnosed with cancer, Lenny returned, nursing her faithfully until her 1978 passing. The ghost of that crushing grief, mixed with the sheer exhaustion of living a double life, haunted his twilight years. When he left us in 1990, he left behind an unparalleled artistic legacy and a poignant reminder of the devastating toll demanded by the times he so brilliantly defined. 3. Danny Kaye. For those who remember the vibrant marquee of mid-century show business, Danny Kaye was a burst of pure, kinetic energy. Born David Daniel Kaminsky to Ukrainian Jewish immigrants in Brooklyn, he possessed a rubber-faced charm and a machine-gun lyrical delivery that felt like lightning in a bottle. Whether he was daydreaming in the secret life of Walter Mitty or tap dancing alongside Bing Crosby in the timeless holiday classic White Christmas, Danny Kaye was the wholesomely laughing heart of post-war American entertainment. Yet behind the brilliant slapstick and the glittering high notes lay a deeply private world. From 1940 until his passing, Kaye's life was anchored by his marriage to lyricist Sylvia Fine, the brilliant mastermind behind his rapid-fire patter. But behind this picture-perfect Hollywood union, Tinseltown whispered of another grand, forbidden passion. For years, persistent rumors swirled around his intense relationship with British acting royalty, Sir Laurence Olivier. During the late 1940s and early 50s, the two men were virtually inseparable. They embarked on long travels together, reportedly leaving their wives, including a thoroughly furious Vivian Leigh, marooned in their wake. In an era when the mainstream press actively guarded the secrets of its idols, these whispers of bisexuality never tarnished Kaye's beloved public image. The studio system understood that a wholesome family man sold tickets, so the industry looked the other way, keeping the illusion intact. When he left us in 1987 at age 76, the nation wept for a comedic genius, leaving the bittersweet truths of his private heart safely buried beneath the applause. 4. Jerome Robbins. To anyone who remembers the electrifying pulse of Broadway's golden era, Jerome Robbins was the visionary who taught America how to dance. Born Jerome Wilson Rabinowitz in 1918 to Russian Jewish immigrants, he broke the traditional mold of musical theater by infusing classical ballet with a raw, athletic American energy. His legendary choreography for West Side Story in 1957 captured the dangerous, thrilling rhythm of the streets, while Fiddler on the Roof in 1964 served as a deeply moving, triumphant embrace of the very Jewish heritage he spent much of his early life concealing. Yet the man who demanded flawless harmony on stage lived a life fractured by terror and compromise. In an era hostile to his identity, Robbins' homosexuality was an open reality within New York dance circles, but a highly dangerous secret to the mainstream public. This vulnerability turned tragic in 1953 when the House Un-American Activities Committee summoned him. It wasn't just about the anti-communist Red Scare. Robbins found himself caught in the crosshairs of the Lavender Scare, a systematic government purge targeting gay citizens. Confronted with the terrifying threat of being publicly outed, blackmailed, and blacklisted, his career and life hung in the balance. Robbins made the agonizing, devastating choice to cooperate and name names. It was a betrayal that shattered lifelong friendships and left a permanent bleeding scar on his reputation among his artistic peers. Driven by this intense inner turmoil and a desperate need for control, Robbins became a legendary, often brutal perfectionist, demanding nothing less than absolute brilliance from his dancers to drown out his own guilt. When he passed away in 1998 at the age of 79, he left behind a revolutionary artistic legacy, having spent a lifetime hiding his deepest pains beneath the breathtaking beauty of his movement. 5. George Cukor. To those who cherish the golden dawn of cinema, George Cukor was the cinematic poet of sophistication. Born in 1899 to Hungarian Jewish immigrants, he rose to become the premier director of Hollywood's most nuanced dramas. Celebrated as the ultimate women's director, Cukor possessed a rare intuitive sensitivity that brought out career-best definitive performances from silver screen royalty like Katharine Hepburn, Greta Garbo, and Judy Garland. Yet while orchestrating these sweeping emotional masterpieces, Cukor lived a double life, hiding in plain sight. In an industry bound by strict conventionality, his homosexuality and Jewish heritage were unspoken realities publicly, but open secrets within the Hollywood elite. To survive the crushing weight of the studio system, he created his own oasis. His legendary Sunday afternoon pool parties at his West Hollywood estate became a celebrated, tight-knit sanctuary. Behind those gated walls, gay actors, writers, and creators could completely drop their guards, escape the prying eyes of the tabloids, and simply be themselves. But even the most elite sanctuary couldn't shield him from the era's raw prejudice. In 1939, at the absolute height of his creative powers, Cukor was abruptly fired from Gone with the Wind. The devastating industry rumor, megastar Clark Gable, reportedly balked at working with a director he knew to be gay. True to his dignified nature, Cukor never complained publicly, choosing instead to let his timeless artistry do the talking. He rebounded flawlessly, delivering masterpieces like The Philadelphia Story and Gaslight, eventually capturing his crowning glory, the Best Director Oscar for My Fair Lady, in 1964. When he passed away in 1983 at age 83, he left behind a magnificent legacy, a testament to a man who navigated a deeply compromised world with unmatched grace, resilience, and style. 6. Vincente Minnelli. For generations who found escape in the breathtaking technicolor of MGM's greatest triumphs, Vincente Minnelli was the ultimate master magician. Born in 1903 to a Chicago theatrical family, he traded stage design for the director's chair in 1943, forever altering the landscape of the American musical. With an unrivaled eye for composition, he painted our cinematic dreams with masterpieces like Meet Me in St. Louis and An American in Paris. Yet, the man who brought such vibrant color to the silver screen lived a private life painted in agonizing shades of gray. Minnelli's refined aesthetic and gentle demeanor fueled decades of Tinseltown speculation regarding his orientation. His high-profile marriage to Judy Garland, which blessed the world with their legendary daughter, Liza Minnelli, provided the perfect conventional cover for the studio columns. Yet whispers of a lavender marriage followed them at every turn. While Garland's later reflections on their union carried a devastating undercurrent of bitterness, the true nature of their private arrangement remained shrouded behind the scenes. Though Minnelli would go on to marry 3 more times, a profound sense of personal restlessness followed him through the studio backlots. When he passed away in 1986 at the age of 83, the world rightfully celebrated the visionary artist who taught Hollywood how to dream in color, leaving the quiet complexities of his private heart safely behind the velvet curtain. 7. John Schlesinger, the rebel who shattered the closet. To the generation that witnessed the bold, rebellious awakening of cinema in the late 1960s, John Schlesinger was a filmmaker of unflinching courage. Born in London in 1926 to a Jewish family, he crossed the Atlantic to leave an indelible mark on American culture. In 1969, he shook Hollywood to its very core with Midnight Cowboy, a gritty, deeply human masterpiece that went on to win Best Picture, cementing its place in history as the only X-rated film ever to capture that top Oscar. While Schlesinger initially kept his Jewish heritage and homosexuality guarded, the seismic cultural shifts of the 1970s perfectly mirrored his own personal liberation. Unlike many of his contemporaries who carried their secrets to the grave, Schlesinger chose a path of brave, unapologetic authenticity. He lived openly with his partner Michael Childers from 1967 until his final days, proving to the world that love did not need a fabricated Hollywood script. This newfound openness poured directly onto the screen. His 1971 landmark film, Sunday Bloody Sunday, featured one of cinema's very first romantic gay kisses, a revolutionary tender moment handled with a raw honesty that forever changed the landscape of representation. When Schlesinger passed away, he left behind a legacy defined by absolute artistic bravery. He was a director who refused to hide from the agonizing complexities of life, moving gracefully from the suffocating shadows of the closet and into the light of absolute truth. 8. Lauren's Heart. To those who cherish the timeless melodies of the great American songbook, Lauren's Heart was the devastatingly poetic soul who gave Rodgers and Hart their heart. Born in 1895 to German Jewish immigrants, Larry Hart was a man trapped in a world that refused to accept him. He spent a lifetime wearing with his identity, deeply insecure about his short stature, his Jewish heritage, and a homosexuality that the era demanded he keep firmly in the shadows. Yet out of that profound isolation came pure, unmatched brilliance. His legendary partnership with Richard Rodgers produced some of the most sophisticated, heartbreakingly romantic standards in American musical theater history, including the hauntingly beautiful My Funny Valentine. Hart's witty, bittersweet lyrics often read like the private diary of a romantic soul, aching for an impossible, forbidden love. To cope with the exhausting, ruthless strain of living a double life, he sought sanctuary in underground clubs, turning to heavy drinking to numb his pain. Tragically, as Hart's alcoholism escalated, Rogers eventually partnered with Oscar Hammerstein II. It was a professional parting of ways that completely shattered Hart's spirit. In 1943, at just 48 years old, he died of pneumonia, though those close to him knew he had ultimately succumbed to a lifetime of self-medication. Concealment and profound heartbreak, he passed away decades too soon, never living to see the cultural revolution that might have finally set his beautiful, tormented soul completely free. These men were the architects of the American dream. Yet the very industry they built refused to let them live it. They painted our world in technicolor, while forced to exist in the gray shadows of the closet. From Tony Curtis's brilliant subversion of the Hay Code, to Lauren Hart's devastatingly poetic cries for an impossible love, their genius did not just entertain us. It redefined the soul of a nation. Today, in 2026, we look back not just with melancholic sorrow for the heavy toll demanded by their times, but with a celebratory awe for their unmatched resilience, bravery, and style. They stepped behind the velvet curtain so that future generations could finally step out into the light of absolute truth. But their histories leave us with one haunting question to ponder. Which of these figures do you think paid the highest personal price for their art? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another journey into the hidden truths of history. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.